What's up, all you high security prison lockdown dudes and dudettes? ToyShiz here, and it's Taco Tuesday, which means I get yet another retro shiz video for you today. We are totally going to be checking out the 1998 TOYBIZ Marvel spin-off line, kind of, sort of, Spider-Man the Animated Series spin-off line, basically every Marvel property spin-off line. The Marvel Supervillains, The Vault wave. This was a very interesting wave, to be sure, and with only 3 figures, the Vault Guardsman, he wasn't part of it. But being that it is the Vault, and he's actually from the Spider-Man line, Techno Wars, we're just kind of throwing him in for good measure, but we will include him when we actually take a look at that line. Now, if you're wondering why one of the figures is still in the box, well, my original figure, she's missing a lot of things, and she sure as heck does not have her restraints, so I went ahead and purchased another one just for this review, so I got all the attachments, I can show it off right, and the packaging even came with it, so I can kind of show you exactly what the packaging looked like this time around. As you can see, Typhoid Mary was one of the 3 characters of this mini wave. She's got a mechanical straitjacket, and the packaging was actually pretty filled. Now, while it does have excellent packaging on the front, and I like those little red electrical bars that they're putting on the packaging, that's a nice little touch to the whole lockdown aspect of it, but it's the giant wording, the Vault, Marvel Supervillains, Marvel Collector on the front. It just really emphasizes that whole thing. On the back, really nice picture of all the figures, and the thing I like most is that you do see, the original TOYBIZ customer service number, and I do remember calling the customer service number. This was listed under Marvel figures, and I remember them distinctly saying, like, presenting Marvel's The Vault, and it's got Ultron and Stegron and Typhoid Mary, and that was very cool just to hear those names coming out. The photo on the back shows all 3 figures, a very distinct wave being that it's only 3 figures. You got the Typhoid Mary bio, and then the card actually had the story about why these supervillains are in the vault, yada yada, and directions on what to do with Mary. So I'm going to get her open. We're going to take a look at each of the individual figures for this wave. I'm really excited. This is the Marvel Supervillains The Vault High Security Prison Lockdown Wave by TOYBIZ. Now, a lot of you have been asking lately, hey, where do you get your old TOYBIZ figures? And a lot of them I've had for years and years. But for kind of completing things, finding missing pieces, figures, etc. for waves, I head over to MERCARI. It's an app. You can download it. It's kind of like a massive online garage sale. You can haggle with people over prices. Marvel Legends, Transformers, Ghostbusters, old, new. There's a lot of stuff on there. I think you're going to dig it. I'll put a code down below. It'll take 10 bucks off your first purchase. Definitely check it out. It's awesome. Now, just to start off, before we get into it, I just want to remind everyone that the Vault Guardsman is not technically part of the Vault wave. He is from a Spider-Man the Animated Series Techno Wars wave that came out much before this one. I just kind of feel that with it only being 3 figures long, it's very fitting to include the Vault Guardsman in this sense. Basically, he is a repainted Iron Man figure from the Iron Man TOYBIZ line, a very lime green to almost yellowish type coloring, and it really works, surprisingly enough, for what the actual Vault Guardsmen look like. It's not exactly spot on, but because TOYBIZ liked to reuse things back in the day, and to their advantage, I will say, I think he looks pretty good. He's got a couple holes that you can see right through him. His gimmick is that, much like Iron Man, you would strap on all these various parts and they would just hook into the peg holes on him. He's got ones for the arms. As a kid, I just remember these things would always pop off, fall off. They were going every which way. It comes with a front armor piece. This is actually 2 parts right here. You just clip it onto the back part of the armor. This slips in. And the best part is it all attaches really nicely. Nothing really falls off, except when you start moving around. These actually come off pretty easily. And then right here was this little turret that you would turn, and it would simulate that the cannons were going off. See what I mean? This thing. The turrets would just kind of pop. It works and it doesn't work. He's a very cool looking figure, very obscure. Venom had a lot to do with the Vault back in the day. He does have an extra hole right here. This is the only armor that he came with, but it is a little bit jarring because, like I said, you see what I mean? These things fall off constantly. You can see right through him. Even he's got a belly button, basically. Very cool figure to have, very fitting for the Vault Wave, and one that I do recommend for your collection. And while I got all you super criminals here, I just want to say thanks so much for checking out my weekly Retro Shiz vids. If you like them, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and make sure to hit that like button. Let's talk everything Toy Biz. Now, the first prisoner is, in fact, Ultron, and I'm sure everyone by now, since the Age of Ultron, should know who this character is. This was actually one of my first forays into the character of Ultron. A lot of you are probably thinking, well, with the gimmick of this particular Vault Wave of figures, why would Ultron be a prisoner in a maximum security prison? He's an AI machine. Well, I just tell you one thing. Don't think about this too much. And I remember going to Toys R Us and seeing the entirety of these figures on the shelf, and it wasn't one of those things where you'd always see these more spin-offy lines. Some of them went to more obscure stores, comic stores. Toys R Us, Target didn't get them all, but these definitely went to Toys R Us. This guy is very cool. It's a little bit more taking a leeway with the Ultron design. He's got this arm cannon shoulder thing going on. The detail is supreme. It's insane. It's crazy. You got all kinds of black wash to him. I always thought this was odd as a little kid. It looks like scorch marks or burn marks, but it's more like a discoloration of the paint that they use to kind of give him a wash, give him a little bit more depth. So I do like it. I appreciate it. It's always just been kind of off to me. Subtle hints of dark color to the blue. He's got red accents in some of the little parts and ports of him. He's got a lot of detail going on, and as you can see on his back, this is where the batteries would go and the little button right here. I, for the life of me, couldn't find these batteries anywhere, and what you would do is you push the button on his back and his face would light up. But I do actually have the old batteries that came with him. I just popped them out a long time ago because corrosion. I don't want that happening. As far as articulation went, he had it at the head, at the shoulders. He had it at the elbows. The wrists had a ball joint to them. He had the waist. He kicked out, kicked back, kicked to the side a bit, the knees, and he had some rotation at the feet. Mine is really stuck, but as you can see, he definitely does have it. On this side, pretty much the same thing, but he had this shoulder cannon, which you could pop in and out. And if you just kind of left him like that, that's pretty much a very classic looking Ultron. It just pegs right here onto his shoulder. Very, very cool figure. A lot going on just in terms of sculpt, playability, he lights up. He's got the works. The best part about it and what this wave entails is that these are maximum security prisoners, and they all come with these attachments to lock your figures down. And I think that's a really interesting, very cool play function, especially for toys. You don't really see that these days. So what you would do is you just simply slip these over his arms just like this. They go right on top. This part actually form fits over his cannon, you know what I mean, just to stop him from shooting anybody. I don't know why they just wouldn't remove it. And this simply just slips over his face. You just want to make sure you don't take off his little Ultron horns right there. And bingo bango, you got yourself a Ultron on lockdown. I love that. I just think that that is just the coolest thing ever, especially if you got them all kind of walled up. Makes for a really great display. He looks like he ain't going anywhere fast, unless of course he's next to a computer or something, and this is all for naught. But highly recommend him. This Ultron is so cool. Next up on our super criminals list is the villain known as Typhoid Mary, and if you were a comics nerd or just wanted a good villain to fight either Daredevil or Spider-Man, heck, look no further. This is another one of those figures where it's a little bit of an obscure character, one that really never got the action figure treatment. Have her as part of the vault with everything that she comes with. From the face sculpt, not exactly the best. She does have this really interesting little piece of hair right there. You could move it out of the way if you wanted to, but it's meant to give that really comic book look. She's got the white mask, the purple to the black, like a tattered skirt. Really interesting fishnets with a little bit of a black wash and a gray paint just to kind of give her a little bit more depth. I really like the purple and the black on her. I think that it really emphasizes that comic book look to her, whether you don't know if she's wearing black or purple, so I like that a lot. She's got these armor gauntlets on her shoulder, and she's got these pegs sticking out of her, which adds to the gimmick of the figure. This is actually a removable piece right here, so yeah, they they definitely wouldn't be doing this nowadays, which is a real shame. I mean, this is totally 90s, and just in case she gets her clothes from China, but basically you just this is probably one of the perviest things I have done in a while, but you kind of just slip her skirt back over her just like that, and it fits nicely. They really went all out in the design of this figure, from the sculpts on her hands, the boots. The only thing I'll say is that in the articulation, her head moves to and fro, kind of, sort of, and it doesn't do much. Her arms move. You can get them up and down if you want, but her gimmick is that her arms kind of go back and forth, which aids in her lockdown situation, which I'll show you in just a second. She does have a swivel at her forearms. The legs kick off to the side, and she has knees as well, but this again adds to the function of her playability, so the legs do not go together in any way. They are purely in that stance permanently. She does come with an array of weapons. She's got a sword, which is actually pretty cool, and she holds it very well. And oddly enough, she comes with a separate piece, which is actually a straitjacket for old Mary, and we can put that on her as well. And it basically just wraps around her, puts your arms through the sleeves. It works and doesn't. It kind of looks like a straitjacket. It really just kind of looks like a shirt, to be quite honest with you. But it's still pretty funny. She's supposed to basically just kind of, you push the button on her back. And this is one of the versions, so she's got kind of like two lockdown versions, in that if she just kind of moves her arms, it's supposed to be that she's kind of wiggling out of the straitjacket. And just like I said, you simply just remove the arms through the jacket, and she's free. There you go. Now, the real thing with all the restraints, that's the best part. So with the restraints, you start with the base right here. You get this arm lockdown system where you put her arms into this right here. She's got this big chain. It's a flexible chain which attaches, and then she comes with basically a muzzle and shoulder restraint. So let's put this on her now. Basically all you do is you would slip her feet into the restraints. You get her arms into these. Now this is a little bit tricky, just in that you're kind of competing with her gimmick, while also these little tiny little slots for her wrist. Attach the chain to the top of the restraint, lock it in right there. And then the one part that doesn't really fit all that well is the muzzle. It kind of sort of works, kind of doesn't. It doesn't want to stay, but I would think that it would be a lot easier just to kind of put it on her. It doesn't really fit inside her hair. It kind of has like the pegs right there. There you have it. A very restrained Typhoid Mary, one that's on prisoner lockdown. And the gimmick, again, like with the straitjacket, is that you push the button on her back and she's supposed to break out, but it works better as a display piece, if anything, because let's just be honest, it's the whole point of these figures is that they're on maximum security lockdown, and that's pretty cool. And now finally we're getting to my favorite figure of the wave, Stegron, the Dinosaur Man. I love this figure. I've loved this character ever since I first found out about him. I didn't know Spider-Man fought this giant scientist, turned himself into a dinosaur sort of dude. As far as I knew, it was just the lizard, but then when I did a little bit of research, found out about the character, he's just rad. I think in terms of a maximum security type wave, restraining a prisoner, this one is the best just in terms of execution and the fact that you're locking up a giant, massive prisoner that can do some serious damage. He is on the small side. He, truth be told, should be a giant, giant figure. He's more in the 5-inch scale, of course. But as far as the sculpt goes on this guy, he is majestic. He's fantastic. I love this guy. He's the dinosaur man through and through. So many different scales. I mean, look at the detail and just the all-out just paint. He's got black wash to him. He's got oranges, yellows, browns, grays, silvers, red for the gums, the teeth, the white. He's got these great eyes on him. This is a gorgeous figure. I can't say enough nice things about him. Highly, highly recommend him. Out of these 3 figures for the wave, he's got the most articulation. So he's got it at the head, kind of rotates back and forth. Then he has it at the neck. This also opens and closes, so he's got some jaw articulation as well. His arms are ratcheted because of his breakout gimmick that he does with his arms, but you can move them up and down. He's got some articulation at the elbows, nothing at the actual wrists, nothing at the waist. He's got the swivel at the legs, so they only kind of go up and down, and then he has knee articulation as well. Then he has articulation at the tail. The back side of him, he has this lever which you pull back, and it activates his arms so he can break out of his restraints or bash Spider-Man over the head, whatever you want to actually do. The restraints themselves are quite interesting. So you got this giant Stegron face mask, you got the shoulder pads. These actually pop out and are separate pieces, so they would simply just slide in. I like that. I think that that's a very cool added part. Do it yourself. You're kind of putting the restraints together. It says V2 Vault 2. He's got some restraints for his wrists, and he has, this is the best part, he's got a restraint for his tail. All of this is painted beautifully, by the way, and it all fits beautifully, so you kind of just slip it over his head, and these things form onto his hands, right over his wrists. This side of his wrists, you kind of want to extend his arms out so it fits better. This goes over his shoulders. Once you kind of get it all finagled, it works perfectly. And then, of course, this goes right over his tail. And, of course, you have Prisoner V2 Stegron, the Dinosaur Man. I love this guy. I love this little part right here as well. They look so restrained. They look like real things that you would have to put these characters in order to hold them. So I love it. My favorite one of the wave. One of my favorite TOYBIZ figures, to be quite honest with you. Highly recommend him. So that is going to do it for my Retro Shiz look back at the 1998 TOYBIZ, the Super Criminal Maximum Security figure line, the Vault. I hope you guys enjoyed this look back. I absolutely love this wave. It's so imaginative, so creative. I would love to see something like this nowadays, to be quite honest with you. If you're wondering, this is from the Diamond Select Danger Room. It creates quite a maximum security lockdown prison-esque scene as well. So I kind of recommend everything you see here in this. It's like an old-fashioned toy ad. Everything's sold separately. But anyways, I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on these figures. Do you have them? Do you want them? Did you have them back in the day and maybe kind of sort of you got to go to your parents' attic and pull them out, play with them a little bit? Comment below, let me know. Let's talk everything TOYBIZ. I'm going to leave you guys with that. As always, drink some great coffee, eat some great food, but most importantly, next week, I got something pretty awesome to show you, so stay tuned for that. Can't wait to show it off. And when you do, let me know what you found. I'll talk to you guys soon. Adios.